Back in 1992, my wife and I were living on the Upper West Side of New York, and I remember a television show that debuted on MTV, and we just loved it, and it was called The Real World. Do you remember that?
I not only remember it, I ate it with a spoon.
Wasn't it the greatest thing?
They were the first reality television.
The first reality
I want
television.
that noted. Yes.
They introduced us to what we now know as reality television.
That's
they
correct.
started it all.
That's right, all of it, whether the Apprentice, the Housewives of wherever, New Jersey or Atlanta, it doesn't matter. Even probably, I guess, even these Bachelor, Bachelorette, I don't watch those.
They all take the format of Real World and they've copied it and embellished upon it. Mary Ellis Bunham and Jonathan Murray were the producers that came up with that. And very clever stuff. And it went on for 33 seasons. Can you imagine?
Well, not
longest running show on television.
They did. What was it? It was something like 10 episodes or something, and then it was done. And then they went to another city with another 7 people.
Yeah, the original New York cast was reunited recently. Let's talk about that.
They were my favorite.
But first, let's just say hello to Susan Sikora, who joins us from Northern California. And I'm Bob Bates in Los Angeles, and you're listening to Older and Wiser. Paramount Plus. They launched this reunion series with the original cast of The Real World from New York. I thought it was pretty fun, but I'll tell you what, and because the show is Older and Wiser, we can really relate to the fact that watching that show made you realize how many years have passed since that show premiered in 1992. How did it feel for you to see these cast members who you grew to know as friends and family 30 years older?
Yes. Well, that's an interesting question or an interesting point, because as I looked at them, some of them looked very, very different. The guys looked very different. I almost had to really see, and I'm glad that they worked in, here's the old footage of them getting out of a cab, and here's them now getting out of a cab.
Yeah.
And that was very helpful. And they gave us some names on things a little more often, especially in the very beginning. But yeah, I mean, I had to stop and tell myself in the beginning, at least in the first episode, these people are now in their 50s.
Yes, and many of them have families. Some of them were doing well in life. Some of them were struggling a little bit more. But it was interesting when they all came back into this new apartment. Actually, I believe it might have been in the same building.
It was the same. It was the same
apartment,
building,
perhaps.
Same apartment. Yes, you watched the reunion, but I bet you saw it, or they called it the Homecoming. Actually,
right?
The Real World Homecoming.
Yeah.
And the reason I just saw it now is because I signed on for the freebie on Paramount Plus for the Tonys, and then they said to you, "What 3 things are your favorites here?" And I'm looking through all the shows. I'm thinking, I can't find anything. Right. I mean, it was all old stuff I had seen already. And then I saw The Real World, which I was dying to see, and I was trying to find, and then I got busy or whatever, and I thought, that's what I want to see.
So this is why sometimes older folks like us, it takes a while for us to start talking about what's out there in the buzz world, because we don't get to it until we get a free 7-day trial to get to watch it later. So that's why we're talking about it now.
But when I saw The Real World Homecoming, I thought, that's it. If I've watched nothing else, I'm watching this. And all the I think it was 6 episodes. They were longer than the originals. They were there. And I watched the whole thing over the last couple of days. And I have to tell you, I loved it.
Well, it was interesting to see them all older and more mature, more forgiving, perhaps, less volatile than they were in 1992. Obviously, they were all cast for their diverse opinions about things. And yet, even though they'd moved 30 years into the future, they still had some of the same thoughts about the world. And as we know, some unwillingness to budge on certain issues. It was a pretty interesting flash forward in time.
I just watched it, and I remember the 30-year-old the fight that Kevin had with, I think he had one with Becky, but with Julie was the one that everybody talked about.
Right.
But then
on the street, they walked out and they were arguing about racism. Yeah.
And it's interesting because he had these differences with other people, especially Becky.
Julie had progressed in her in her way of thinking over the years.
She changed.
She did change, and she even owned the fact that she was wrong before. Becky, she couldn't open her mind enough to see that maybe there were some things about the way she viewed the world that could feel somewhat racist.
Becky was so defensive about not being labeled a racist that she didn't examine her behavior. She didn't see it for what it is or how it's perceived by people of color who are understanding that you think you understand, but you don't because you're not listening to what I'm trying to tell you, rather than saying why you're not this, that, or the other thing, or you're not racist. Kevin goes out and does talks now on these kinds of things.
I met Kevin once. I was
really?
interviewing the activist, the feminist icon in New York. Her name is Gloria Steinem. Sorry, it took me a second to get to that.
How could you forget Gloria?
I got to go to her apartment to interview her, and that evening there was a party, and she was introducing this new politician in town, and it was Kevin Powell. So he was running for some office, and so he was there. And nice guy.
I would like to see him run for office again. I don't know what his plans are at this point. I think that was mentioned.
Let's talk about the cast and who you like and who was most fun to see. We've got Norman, we've got Julie, we've got Becky, we've got Kevin, we've got Andre, Heather, and Eric.
I loved Heather.
I felt was the star of the show. What do you think?
Yeah, I loved Heather then, and I love her now because she just says it. And she doesn't get into things she doesn't get into arguments for the sake of arguing, but she says it like it is.
She does, but she's got a warmth to her and a forgiveness and all of that. She is she's a bit of a celeb in her own right. She's on Sirius XM, and she's does a lot of television stuff.
She's a radio star now. She's really, and you know what? I could see her having a very long career. I think
she's
that her
great.
career will end when she wants it to end. But
she feels a little Oprah-like to me, in a way, some ways, in terms of her warmth and her
honesty,
ability to talk to everybody. I think
she's open. She's open, and people can talk to her.
It was great to see Norman again.
Norman was the guy who had fallen on hard times.
And he was working a bakery and stuff.
And I'm glad they didn't try to whitewash that and tie it up with a little bow or anything and say, he'll be fine and they're going to, we're selling his. I mean, they worked through the process of what do you have to do? Yeah. And they all knew and helped. And I thought, when I first heard he was having a hard time, I thought, can't they help him? But before I even thought it, they were already in. They were saying, here's what I can do. You have to get on Instagram.
Nice guy, really genuine. It was good to see Andre was successful in his music career. Seems like a great father and a family guy.
He FaceTimed or whatever with his little girl and his wife every day, even though you didn't see it all the time. You saw his little girl, Sophie.
Everybody was so anxious to see Eric. But Eric, as we know, had COVID and couldn't join the cast.
Yeah. But it was great that they didn't just say, well, he couldn't be here. Okay. That would be typical television. At least I think there are people that, let's just say we both worked for variations on the theme where they'd say, well, we can't do that. So
right. They put a camera in his hotel room and had him isolate in the hotel. Yeah.
Absolutely. And he interacted with them just like we're interacting on Zoom right now.
But you could see how painful it was for them not to be together with Eric, because Eric was one of their favorite. I mean, at the time when we were watching the series, I didn't remember them liking Eric as much as they did. He was very focused. He was working on his rap career or his modeling career. Modeling. And they were kind of they had some issues with Eric at the time. Now they couldn't. He was the one guy they wanted to see, and he couldn't be there because of COVID.
I think the interesting thing about this was that you say, well, how could 7 people be so close? After 30 years and all that. Some of them had stayed in touch. And I think Heather and Julie stay in touch. And I think they said that on the show, and they're still good friends to this day. And there are people in our own lives where you don't see them for a while, but you kind of pick up exactly where you left off. It doesn't happen often. But I think because of the unique circumstances of the situation that we're going to live together, it's like we're going to share a space and we're going to share the kitchen. And, you might have your own bathroom, but are you finished in there? Because I want to shower next.
Yes.
I mean, all of that, right? That really you have to drop the pretenses pretty quickly.
I found a few interesting real world facts I'm going to drop on you. Did you know that it was the producers renovated a 4,000 square foot duplex in Soho for the original series? This was the original series. They had 500 applicants. And they ended up paying these people, the actual cast members, only $2,600 for their entire time on the show.
Didn't know that.
They only got $2,600, no residuals.
But their rent was paid.
Their rent was paid, right?
How did they do food? Who paid for groceries?
I'm sure they... Oh, great question, because it wasn't like there was a buffet of food every day. They did have to make their own food, so I don't know what they bought.
I remember making spaghetti quite a bit.
Yeah, they were only in the apartment for 2 months. So that wasn't as long as I imagined. I thought it went on much longer because we watched the series over a whole season, so it felt like they were there forever, but only there for 2 months. The furniture was provided by IKEA. Does that surprise you?
No, it was nice, like but it was affordable. I mean, you can't put these people from different backgrounds in a thing saying we're going to see what happens when everybody gets together, and then put them in stuff from like Roche Bois.
No, it had to be that kind of thing. Every series from there went on to have a pool table and a jacuzzi, most of them, and most of them all had an aquarium. Do you know why?
I don't remember the aquarium. Was it for a shot or something to see people?
Yeah, they all had an aquarium, and there were always shots of the fish swimming in the aquarium. And the reason for it was, and I never knew this, it was a metaphor for the show. We are watching fish in a fishbowl.
Oh, that's interesting, because the fish can't get out if they don't if a fish is in there with 6 other fish.
Yeah.
They can't leave.
You can't leave. And we're watching you through glass.
How many times can you swim in the castle and stay there?
That's right. They took all their cell phones away on every episode, every season that's come since, and only allowed them to use
the original.
Well, no, even now they don't allow the kids to use their cell phones in the house.
Okay.
And they have one landline so that they can call their parents or whatever, and a shared computer, but you're not supposed to use social media or anything while you're in the house, which is kind of good. They'd all be on their phones. The crew would have nothing to shoot, but kids looking at their cell phones.
Their phones, yeah. No, I agree. I think that's a smart call.
The other messy thing I wanted to mention, and I always thought this was interesting, was that the real world invented the confessional, the little room where at the end of the week they were required to go to talk about the whole week. It later became like a little soundproof booth where they could go in at any time to record their thoughts. But all these reality shows now use that confessional technique.
All those techniques were created on that show, and some of them have been changed or, updated or what have you, but that was the original. That was the original.
Fun to watch. The Real World, World Homecoming, now available on Paramount Plus. So much fun. Okay.
I loved it. It was worth signing on with all the trouble I had. I got on like, I think 3 minutes before the Tonys started.
It was completely worth the free trial, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
there
it
you
was.
go.
It was. Okay.
It was worth every penny you paid. Yeah. Yeah.
And you know what? If somebody said this will cost you $5 for the month, I think it's $4.99 or I forget what it is now. Yeah, I would have paid to watch that.
Okay. Let's move on to our next topic today. I found this in Forbes. I thought it was pretty interesting and something worthy of thought and discussion. And that is this writer makes the assertion that maybe companies today should remove college degree requirements from job listings. Here's why. According to the U.S. Census, 36% of Americans ages 25 and older had a bachelor's degree or higher. That's not very many. 65% of job listings require you to have a college degree. I'll tell you what, my feeling about a college degree is, I have one. It probably helped me to get that first job. But do I need a college degree to do what you and I did for our entire career? I say no. What do you think?
I think that's probably true for a lot of careers. When I started out, I was a teacher, and you had to have a degree. You had to have a degree, and you had to have a teacher's license.
A teacher's degree, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. But when I look back on the times and the things that I spent The time I spent in college discussing what I would do in a classroom specifically was not the majority of the time I was in school. But in the time you and I went to college, it was a little more affordable. If your parents could help, great. If you went to a state school and had a scholarship like I did, great. You could do it. All right. You still had some kind of a loan.
And
maybe,
now it's really cost prohibitive.
Okay.
Yes.
Now it's cost prohibitive. So you better, John. Well, you're not just. I think I want to go to school.
So college becomes the stuff of elite, the elite, right? Here's an interesting statistic: 61% of human resources and business leaders say they throw out resumes without college degrees, even if the candidate is qualified.
Yeah. Well.
I think that's just incredibly stupid. This is an era in which we are using tax dollars, and I'm not saying I disagree with this, tax dollars to give free community college education to people.
I think that's a good idea.
Which I think is great. I think it's great. But the problem with what's happened today is you can't have hope for a decent life without a college education these days. I think we've gotten crazy. You should be able to have a good life with hard work and creativity and smarts without this so-called ticket to pass, this very expensive, partially useless ticket, which is a college degree. I'm just saying I haven't made much of my college degree. That's all.
I think I've used mine in terms of what I was able to do outside the classroom. In many cases, I can think back to,
as a teacher, you really did. Yeah.
On stage, I was in a production every year of college, every year, a major production and then something else. So I did at least 2 productions a year for the 4 years I was there. In some cases, maybe a little more. And I have to say, I mean, I'm not Meryl Streep, but honest to God, I think
you are.
The experience, yes, I am. I'm really Meryl. She's off in Connecticut doing my job. But
you do good accents.
You know what, though? Here's the point, is that was experience. It wasn't studying. I could have read all the books Stanislavski and Stella Adler wrote, but if I didn't get on stage, and there were people, by the way.
So your college degree gave you the experience, but you could have gotten that experience in local theater, right?
Not necessarily.
Your final thought about college education, is it necessary?
I think it doesn't guarantee anything.
Okay. Let's move on to our next topic. Here's the headline. A sleep study just revealed the most common type of nightmare. Do you get nightmares?
Not a lot.
I don't much either anymore. I used to. I feel like maybe as we get older, do we get fewer nightmares? I don't know. But
it could be, because maybe we're not as afraid of things because our imaginations are always a little bit, some people have more wild imaginations than others. But as you live life and get older, you realize that probably you're not going to step off a train and get hit by a plane.
Yeah, that could be it. This survey was conducted by AmeriSleep. 2,000 people were surveyed, and there's some very specific things that people dream about. The most common one was at 65% was falling. Do you ever have that one where you just fall and you don't hit bottom?
No, now I worry about it in my real life.
Right.
When you get older, you don't want to fall. No, I don't really. No, I don't have that. I don't have that dream.
The next one being chased.
Chased, I have had that, but not lately.
Yeah, I used to have those, being chased. I haven't had that in a while. 55% dream about death. Now, I thought this wasn't even possible to dream about death, but to actually die in your dream, wouldn't you die in real life if you died in a dream?
I don't know.
That.
I don't know.
Okay.
You know more about dreams than I do.
I don't know. 54% dreamed about getting lost. I've had that one.
Lost. Yeah, I've had that one.
Yeah. And 52% dreamed about feeling trapped somewhere.
Trapped.
I don't like to be trapped. I get claustrophobia.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've had it. You know what's interesting? I interviewed a woman once who wrote a book about interpreting dreams. And here's what it is in a nutshell. If you are dreaming about something Okay. And you wake up or you go, oh, I was chasing. Thank God was just a dream. Okay. And you're running from something, let's say, in the dream. Okay.
Yeah.
You're supposed to ask yourself, what did you feel? Well, I felt like I was being chased and I couldn't get away from something that I couldn't control, maybe. What do you feel about your real life? In your real life, what do you feel that way about? And that's what the dream is about.
I gotcha. And there could be some connection there. Yeah, because, for example, let me scroll down here. According to this, falling is a very common thing, because apparently you having a feeling that your life is out of control, that you feel insecure about something, or you're completely overwhelmed. That's what apparently falling means, according to this.
Okay, who doesn't?
Oh, I'm sure some people don't feel completely overwhelmed, but I'm guessing that falling, if I felt like I'm falling all the time, it perhaps means that I'm out of control. I guess. I don't know.
Well, you are out of control, Bob. I've been meaning to tell you this for years.
Some of the more popular, some of the other ones: drowning, 22%, bugs crawling on you, 15%, and here's one I like. 5% say they're dreaming about going bald.
Well, actually, I have to tell you, I had cancer and I did that, and I'm still alive, thank knock on wood. And my hair is not back to what I want it to be. It might never be, but I've made peace with this. And the upside is, when I swim, this is easy.
In the course of all of that, did you dream about going bald?
No.
Okay, that was interesting. Then that's a good point. Then that part of the cancer journey did not stress you out as much as it might have some other people.
I got a couple of wigs. I worked through chemo, actually.
Yeah.
I was on the air through chemo.
Yeah.
And that was the challenge. So I couldn't just slough it off and say, well, I'll just stay home and hide. I swam in the summer. I did yoga classes when I was tired.
So the losing your hair part of it didn't make you have bad dreams, was the bottom line.
No, it didn't make me have bad dreams.
That's good.
It made me cranky.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the wig.
Well,
the
you're
wigs
still
were fun.
cranky. You haven't quite got over that.
But I was more cranky when my lashes were getting, and I had to figure out a way to do that. And there was a way. I found out exactly what to do.
Fake eyelashes. You just stick them on.
No, I didn't do fake eyelashes. I didn't want chemicals going in my eyes at a time when I was going through chemo. But if you line your eyes properly, and the women will know what I'm talking about, you don't care now at this point. You can take a minute. But when you line your eyes, especially if you line the inner rim carefully, that will give the effect of having lashes, because it defines your eyes, which is what lashes do.
Boy, that's some good information. Thank you for revealing that.
You're welcome. You'll get my bill.
I'm going to write that down. All right. So next up, here's an item from womanandhome.com. The headline, "How People Want to Be Remembered After Death," is revealed in this fascinating survey. I don't know how fascinating the survey really is, but I thought the idea of being remembered after you die, first of all, how important is that to you?
I'm trying to get my hair down. Wait a minute. Okay. How important is it being remembered?
Do you
right now? Yeah. Right now, it's important because I'm alive. Once you're dead, it won't matter.
Yeah. So let's talk about now, since you're still alive, the idea that you would like people to remember you in a certain way. Important?
I saw your list. My thing on my list is not on there. I do like Kind. Kind was there.
Let's look at that. Let's talk about the list if we're going to talk about the list.
Well, wait, let me tell you what mine is. You asked.
Well,
I'll tell you. I'd like to be remembered as having been a good friend.
A good friend. Okay. That's really kind of a great thing to have on the list. I thought this list that we got from this survey was kind of meh. They're all about the same. I'll just list them from 1 to 10. Here we go. Good person is number 1. Everybody wants to be remembered as a good person. Kind, caring, loyal, helpful, good listener, loving, happy, good husband, wife, being own person, true to oneself. Huh.
Okay.
I don't know.
Honest.
I mean, all those
honesty, I guess. Yeah.
The only ones that I thought seemed revealing was number 20, good at my job. Some people want to be remembered for being good at their job.
You know what? Where you're going, there's no promotions. There's no corner office.
That's right. Nobody cares if you were good at your job, right?
That's the thing they always tell you on your deathbed. You're not going to regret not having worked more. I mean,
I think that's probably something where the person who would say, the thing I want to be remembered for is being good at my job, is someone who really hasn't taken the time to analyze what matters, right?
Yeah, and also I'll tell you the other one too. I would like to be remembered as somebody, and I'm not a comedian, but I would like to be remembered as somebody who made people smile and laugh.
Yeah,
especially laugh. I think laughter is really the best medicine.
That's number 17. People want to be remembered for being witty. Yeah.
Didn't see that one. All right.
I was just realizing that even though I pulled this article and I looked at this list, I can't come up with my own. I'm not sure what it is that I would like to be remembered for.
Probably. Well, see, I would think you would want to be remembered as being a good husband and a great dad.
Yeah, probably.
And I think your girls would concur. I mean, I don't know your daughters as well as you do, certainly, or as well as other people do necessarily, but I have a sense of who they are and what they're doing. And also that I think you and your wife are terrific parents from what I can say. So, I'm at a distance observing, but I'm still saying I think that makes a difference because they're going to go on into the world and use the things that you've taught them, the things that they feel were worthy and usable and they didn't want to discard or change. And that will add to the lives of other people.
It probably also is interesting to think about who you want to remember you, because in some ways, it doesn't matter to me as much what my neighbor might think of me or how they want to remember me. Like, oh, he always kept his yard nice, or he's always got a smile on his face. He
grows great tomatoes.
Great tomato. Like that, the person that is remembering you is maybe more important even than how you're being remembered. Like you're right. My kids, I want them to remember me in a very good way. Yeah.
But I think that's already a given. I think in terms of who, I'm going to tell you something else. You could have great friends and they don't even have to be your age or older. They could be younger than you. And a lot of times what happens is they're gone before you. You're at their funeral.
All right, that should do it for us today. We are glad you joined us for Older and Wiser.
Yes.
For all the stuff that matters when you're 50 plus, visit us at olderandwiser.com. And all the stories that we talked about today, you're getting a phone call. She's got to go. Bye, Susan. We'll see you next time. For all the stories that we talked about today, you'll find them on olderandwiser.com. Just click on the news tab. And we'll see you next time.
You here to see my water heater?
Yeah, it was super quick.